Hey kiddies, Tom's Friends Hate Him month continues with Betrayal, a study in Channing Tatum. There are all sorts of types of movie people. I don't know about you, but me, I feel like I build, very one-sided relationships with certain filmmakers. You watch their careers develop, or you jump in when you do, and you continue, go back, you find all the movies, you chart what motifs and or ideas continue and what don't, what gets dropped. You see what they get interested in and what they're experimenting with and what they're trying, and so I put a lot of value in certain directors, and by and large, I have too mmany DVDs, so I keep them in these big, ridiculous binders. But certain directors, I will save the cases for because I love their work, and I just want to always have it on display and easy to pull out. Then they go and, in rapid succession, cast this one actor that I just don't like. I do not like Channing Tatum. I will admit, in small doses, I can almost understand the charm. But by and large, I don't think he adds anything to anything. He just really comes off as a big meathead. A very nice meathead, don't get me wrong. I was charmed by the Stan Lee Comic-Con moment, just the same as everybody, and, looking at the lip-sync battle and everything. He seems like a nice enough guy. I just don't ever want him in movies that I want to watch. And then 3 of my favorite sets of directors just go out and hire him in the same year, essentially. And it really drove me up the wall. And thus, Betrayal by some of my favorites. So our menu is going to include the Wachowskis' Jupiter Ascending, Quentin Tarantino's Hateful Eight, and the Coen brothers' Hail Caesar. I mean, you have to understand, I've loved the Wachowskis ever since The Matrix, and then I went back, got Bound, and oh my god, that was amazing. And then the Matrix sequels came out, and Speed Racer, and Cloud Atlas. You have to understand, I have died on the Wachowskis brothers' hill more than once, arguing ardently for The Matrix Reloaded, The Matrix Revolutions. I will sit down and fight over Speed Racer because Speed Racer is so undervalued and so amazing at the same time. I think Cloud Atlas is probably the best movie that's been made in my lifetime. And then Jupiter Ascending came out. I've talked about Jupiter Ascending before on the Pretty Stupid Sci-Fi triple feature, so I'm not going to go over it too much, but suffice it to say, this movie's just terrible. It is wall-to-wall bad decisions, the lack of a plot, the one-dimensional characters, the length of the movie, for God's sakes. And understand, I love every Wachowski's movie up until this point. And so the betrayal of casting Channing Tatum as our lead hero is sort of undercut by the fact that the movie's so terrible. I can't even really go after Channing Tatum in this movie because he's no better or worse than anybody else in this movie. Except maybe Eddie Redmayne, who, sorry Eddie, this is the first time I've ever seen you in a movie, and I gotta tell you, I never want to see you in anything ever again. Channing Tatum plays Kane, the Dog Warrior. The Dog Warrior with space rollerblades. The Dog Warrior who uses space rollerblades to make up for the wings that got cut off of him before the movie started. The Dog Warrior who used to have space wings that now has space rollerblades that's in love with Jupiter, Mila Kunis' character, for reasons. I mean, don't get me wrong, Mila's always attractive, but she's sort of charmless in this movie, which is really something because she's charming in everything else, even as Meg Griffin. And the movie just plods, and it's terrible, and in the middle of it is Channing Tatum doing these big, ridiculous action sequences. And I'm always going to be fair, even if I don't like you. Channing Tatum is probably going to be a decent action star. I haven't really seen too many action movies with him. I think it's like this one and the G.I. Joe movies are the only real straight-up action movies. Because oddly enough, he never really built a foundation on action movies, considering how much of a meathead he appears to be, but is more of a dancer. And, the dancing probably helped out a lot with the fight choreography in this terrible, terrible movie. Guys, girls, Wachowskis, come back to me. I don't know what you have on the horizon. Please, let it be good. Let it be great. Do, another Speed Racer. I would love forever, even though that's just never going to happen. But, get your shit together. This was really bad. It's just so boring and monotonous, and it's, pretty as hell, but God in heaven, why would you ever want to watch this movie ever again? And it's got all the trappings that I like, even a Terry Gilliam cameo, but no, it's terrible. It's so terrible, I can't even focus my rage on the subject of this triple feature, Channing Tatum. I have to go after the actual movie. Because Channing Tatum, I mean, he's no worse than anybody else. Like, Sean Bean looks like he's asleep in this movie. What is going on? No, done. Jupiter Ascending, I never want to talk about you again, ever. I can't believe I've talked about you twice on 2 different triple features. Jesus. God. Quentin Tarantino. I love Quentin Tarantino. I love Quentin Tarantino. I mean, I love Quentin Tarantino movies. They are so goddamn good. It's like all the good parts of Kevin Smith's dialogue amped up to 11 with clever plotting, clever characters, action sequences. I mean, it's fun because, like, in terms of watching a director develop, Quentin Tarantino and Kevin Smith, you might think that's a bad comparison considering that Kevin Smith has really not made a movie I want to watch in quite some time, although I have to admit I am probably going to see Yoga Hosers at some point. But they all came out, like, Kevin Smith, Quentin Tarantino, Richard Linklater, came out of the early to mid-90s independent film boom, where you didn't have to have big action, big budget, you just had to have a clever script and enough decent actors to pull it off. But as you watch them all progress, they either turned into better directors or just kind of treaded water. Unfortunately, Kevin Smith sort of treaded water. Don't get me wrong, he's treading water. The water he's treading is water I like, and including Clerks 2. I thought was really definitely watchable. Whereas Quentin Tarantino, every movie he's trying something new and getting either better or maintaining a high level of quality. Reservoir Dogs, there's not a lot of action. It's just basically a talking movie. Pulp Fiction adds more action, mainly talking. Because he was a very talky director up until Kill Bill, and then everything becomes ridiculous action and genre explosions. And from there, Death Proof, Inglourious Basterds, Django Unchained, he's just in a level all of his own. And he continues it with this film, The Hateful Eight. I love it. Is it as good as Inglourious Basterds or Django Unchained? Probably not, but it's still Quentin Tarantino doing an Agatha Christie impression by way of Sergio Leone and John Carpenter's Bastard Child. And if that's not something you're interested in, stop watching. We're done. We're over. This is going to contain spoilers for The Hateful Eight, so if you don't want to know spoilers, you should probably go away from that as well. Didn't feel like bothering with spoiler warnings for Jupiter Ascending because nobody wants to watch that movie. What were you thinking? Hateful Eight, 8 people, all scumbags to varying degrees, are trapped in a cabin in a blizzard. And they have to make it through, 2-3 days. But, they don't even get that far because, as it turns out, Kurt Russell's bounty, Daisy Domergue, has a gang, and the gang is lying in wait to pounce and free her and save the day for, their gang members. And the leader of this gang is Channing Tatum as Jody Demingray, Daisy Domergue's brother and suave, evil bastard. And yeah, he was good in it. I hate this month so much. Channing Tatum was good in The Hateful Eight. Okay. He is there for about 5 minutes altogether. Is very suave, polyglot, because ever since Inglourious Basterds, there has to be at least one polyglot in every Quentin Tarantino movie. Or would it really go back to Kill Bill? Nope, not getting sidetracked. Jody Demingray comes in, he's the guy with the plan, he's leading everything, and he's just, he seems like a really reasonable guy for being a murderous bastard, but then you look at, like, everybody else in this Western, and everybody's a murdering bastard, so who are we really judging anything against? Except Obi. Obi probably never did anything to anybody. There's not really a lot to talk about because he's there. He sets up the plan. He has a good little scene with Bruce Dern. And then after shooting Samuel L. Jackson's testicles off, he gets he gets his face literally blown off by being shot in the back of the head. I guess it's one of those, he wasn't in it long enough for me to not like him, I guess. So I can't help but just find him kind of charming in this movie. God damn it. Finally, we have the Coen brothers' Hail Caesar. And Coen brothers movies, again, just got them all. They're just all so goddamn good. They basically break down into two sets. The Coen brothers movies that I love and can watch over and over again, and the Coen brothers movies that I like and I will pop in every so often. And the ratio is pretty damn good, because the only ones that don't fall in category one are A Serious Man, The Lady Killers, Inside Llewyn Davis, and unfortunately probably Hail Caesar. I've only seen it the once in the theater. I haven't picked up the Blu-ray for it yet. But it's a lot of really good parts that I don't think added up to a whole in the way that their previous movies have. It follows Josh Brolin's character, Eddie Mannix. He's a fixer/studio head who's trying to keep everybody happy and keep all the wheels rolling at his movie studio. And some days are more trying than others, like this one, where his big star, George Clooney, gets kidnapped by a bunch of communist writers. And one of the there's a lot of good references to old 50s movies, and one of the points to the movie is to remind everybody that, while we all love the classics, they were making a lot of movies back then, and they weren't always great. And so you see a lot of not great movies, but movies of the same ilk. So you get like a Western, you have a costume drama, you have a Esther Williams, Busby Berkeley type of movie. George Clooney is in a biblical epic. And then there's Bert Gurney. Channing Tatum is basically playing Gene Kelly Light, song and dance Navy musical. And once again, it's one of these things where he's not in it enough for me to hate him. He's a really good dancer, is the thing. And I've watched some behind-the-scenes clips, and he is not a tap dancer by training. He does all sorts of other dance, but one of the things that intrigued him was that he'd get to tap dance, and so he had to learn how to tap dance, and which he did for the movie. And that's hard and impressive, and god damn it. The song is No Dames, which is essentially a lower key version of There's Nothing Like a Dame. And it's just every single tap dancing movie cliche, all cliche up to and including softcore gay pornography, because it's semen. But then it turns out that Channing Tatum is actually a communist sleeper agent. He's part of the communist writing group, and he's collecting the money, and then he's going on a Russian submarine, captained by Dolph Lundgren. If you have the pleasure of seeing it, it is Dolph. You can't really make out his face, but it's him. Making this a movie that had Dolph Lundgren, Christopher Lambert, Clancy Brown, Peter Jason, to name other really great 80s character actors. It's weird. Like, it's the weirdest part. It's one of the weirdest parts of the whole movie, because he's on the boat with his dog and the communist screenwriters, and they're trying to get away and give him the money and everything, and it's just weird. But like the real meat of Channing Tatum's part is this dance number, which is a really, really nice dance number. And so, despite being betrayed, I might be betrayed by my own feelings and enjoyment of him in movies where, I like the directors. So I don't know. And I feel uncomfortable and weird, and I hate my friends as much as they hate me, and I'll see you next week.